60 Minutes Overtime.
It's just like a golf cart that just keeps going.
Like a golf cart.
That just keeps going, yeah, absolutely.
In 2008, Lesley Stahl and I went out to California, and our question was, the future of the American car, would it be Detroit or Silicon Valley? At the time, Silicon Valley was generating all these new startups that were in the car business, and Tesla was one of the companies.
This is the first all-electric sports car, the Roadster, made by Tesla Motors, a small startup in Northern California.
All the companies we interviewed in Silicon Valley, Tesla is the only one that survived a decade later. All the others went bankrupt. You know, when we interview CEOs, especially CEOs in a time of trouble, they're very rah-rah. They're very, we've got this, everything's fine, the future's bright. What we both Lesley and I found very interesting was Elon Musk was just very honest. And I really think back then, he may have thought the idea would survive, but his company would not.
How much more has the project cost than you thought it was going to cost?
Probably twice as much, I think, ish, thereabouts.
Are you okay with that?
Well, not exactly. I mean, I really wish it would cost what I thought it would have cost.
Does your stomach churn?
I definitely had some stomach churning moments, no question.
Over the money?
Yeah, and delays and, not getting it done. And
what was pretty astounding to us was that he was pouring his own personal money into Tesla in order to keep it afloat.
How much did you put into this company?
Oh, man.
Don't tell me you don't know.
No, I do. It's about $55 million.
$55 million of your own money.
Yeah, it's a little more than I expected.
A decade later, it's sort of the same situation. It's not his personal money, but the company is billions in debt. It was bleeding money at a level of something like $1 million every other hour. Still, he believed that if they're disciplined enough, if they try hard enough, if they sleep less and work hard, they'll reach a deadline. And we're coming to them at a point where they actually were able to do that. Their last quarter earnings, they actually are showing a profit for the first time in years.
When I first met you 10 years ago, this company was how many people?
We had about 500 people.
And now?
We're almost 50,000 people. So we're about 100 times larger than when we first did the interview in 2008.
I asked you back then if you were going to succeed, and you kind of looked at me as if to say, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought at the time, I thought most likely we would fail.
You did?
Yeah.
What about now?
Now I think we will most likely succeed.
For us, it was really interesting to go back 10 years after we originally went out, because the original premise was Detroit, and specifically GM, versus Silicon Valley, and specifically Tesla. GM, huge company. At the time, they were investing in this new hybrid called the Volt, and that was supposed to be the future. We interviewed Bob Lutz, who's this great, iconic, world-renowned car executive.
A lot about General Motors' reputation and image is riding on this.
That is probably an understatement.
And so basically, in your mind, it has to succeed.
Of course it does. For what it's worth, I stake my reputation on it.
And it's interesting to see 10 years later, they're terminating the Volt project, which a decade ago they really touted and showed us and said, this is the future of American driving.
Do you think that you are going to be the General Motors of the future?
I would describe it differently. I think really the goal of Tesla Motors is to help accelerate the advent of the electric vehicle. The whole point of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles.
Elon Musk, as opposed to all these other people, he's the one really driving the change. Doesn't mean that his car and his company are going to end up, owning the market. We don't know, and we honestly don't really think so. But his vision has really guided the change in how Americans drive today.